Well, hello. This is just a test, changing things up, using a very inexpensive gaming headset with a just a boom mic off it. I think because I have to move around so much currently, grabbing an instrument or what have you, that it may be the best way to go. And my mic technique is not good, uh, to say the least. Boy, I want a cough switch. Um, so uh, that's part of the transition. I am using an overhead OBSBot camera mounted overhead. Still working all that out. I don't know about all those things. I'm using a key light, a panel, an LED panel light over there, and a fill light up there. All this is very new to me. I've got it kind of indirect. Hopefully that'll work. I don't know if maybe I'm trying to get away from overhead lighting that'll create reflections on the displays and dazzle and glare and stuff. So hopefully that'll work out. Um, we'll see. Maybe I need to get a soft box. But if I tell my wife that, she'll be like, "You asshole! You need to divorce me." So we won't use those terms. We use a diffuser. How about that? Um, yeah. So what else is up? It's been a little bit busy. This is the little guy. Sometimes you hear in the background crying to get out. As he gets a little older, hopefully he'll calm down. It's good. He's got this little playpen in here, so it's all good. He takes naps. Puppy days are like 90 minutes long. Spaz out, pee, go to sleep. Spaz out, pee, go to sleep. But well, since this is kind of a fake video, is I'm not quite ready to go. I'm just doing sort of a lighting test and whatnot. And please, I'm not fishing for comments. I'm fishing for comments. No, I'm fishing for feedback in terms of if the lighting works for you and whatnot. I'm using a different computer. It's a Asus Net, but one of the what is it, the Zen Duo ZenBook things. Uh, but I mean, it's a kind of a ragged out one with um, the battery doesn't, the whole charging system's down, so I have to. It's a glorified desktop now. I have to keep it plugged in, but hopefully it won't lag and create that kind of problem. Um, Yeah, so as a fake video here, I thought I would just kind of do a fake unboxing and do maybe a little physical comparison to the Volante. Kind of earlier, I know tape delay seems to be real popular. I think it's one of the popular ones. Uh, so you open up the box. Now there is one of their small pilot quick start guides. Though honestly, I think you can kind of stumble around and find things, and it is well laid out. But and then from there read the whole manual. So it comes, kind of just cradled in there with some finery uh, feet if you use them. They come pre not footed. No power supply. No power. No power. Well, I'm sorry. No, I'm learning on my new where I am in space here. Uh, so no power supply. It does have a regular, I think that's a 2.1 mil barrel jack, negative center, 9-volt DC as usual, 500 milliamps. So it does take some juice. It is a little power hungry, but it is a digital Strymon pedal. Uh, uh, Left in, uh, right in, left out, right out. Okay, pretty standard type stuff. Here's the deal though. Um, these can be operated tippering sleeve, TRS. So you can actually run stereo in here into this, into your left in with full stereo. Uh, and you got a stereo out here on your right out. Well, what did the left and the left in, or excuse me, the right in and left out do? What did the middle ones do? Uh, it's a send and a return. So you actually have an effects loop on this. Very much like if you saw my Memory Boy Deluxe video. It's not the only one with it, but that's what it's for. And this is in stereo. There can be some neat tricks on the Memory Boy. I think I pretty much just did wah wah to kind of show, but you can run pitch shifters and things like that. I do find things like wah filters in general tend to be real effective uh, in the feedback loop. Some of the other stuff, the pitch shifter, you wind up getting kind of a climbing barbell pole type effect, or well, climbing effect, uh, which can be there. Falling effect, a pitch shifting effect. You can try to pitch shift a little bit, and then it just starts becoming this kind of diffused cloud. It can get pretty, because you're stacking those pitch shifts, it can get pretty, not atonal, maybe atonal as such. You get kind of all over the board there. Uh, Especially if you're going both up and down. Otherwise, you get kind of a weird climbing thing. But try some stuff out. Maybe very, very slight, and back things down. Very, very slight overdrive. You can kind of use that as almost a degradation. But basically works like a degradation type effect. But there's neat things you can do with it. Um, yeah. So it does have a loop, which is really nice. That's something. There was a period in the '90s, late '90s, I think, when it was hard to find. You could find it on some of the '80s things when digital delay was first coming out. It was more just this kind of, they gave you the delay line. There was usually an LFO, so you could modulate the delay time. But some of them had the effects loop. There's an Ibanez one with buttons kind of, boy, I want to say late '80s, maybe very early '90s. They had that, but they were a little hard to find for a while. But now they seem to be back. They seem to be back with a vengeance. Expression pedal input, USB, and your MIDI. I don't know. I haven't looked yet at what the USB actually, if it does MIDI over USB. I assume it does, but I'm not sure. It may be more of a bookkeeping, or excuse me, a housekeeping type function, firmware updates, that kind of thing. I'm sure there's patch storage. I don't know offhand if it can uh, actually receive MIDI, can CC messages and things. There's Strymon, just the Strymon sticker, the serial number sticker. Otherwise, it's pretty much a Strymon build, very good quality. Next to the Volante, which was kind of sort of a flagship delay at the time. Now this one did come with the Strymon power supply. Now I've run the Timeline MX off this guy, which is rated at like 660 milliamps. So I wish they would have. I mean, I get it. I think when you get to this kind of level of stuff, they expect you, running kind of dedicated supplies. But I think it would have been nice if they included it. I think they could have done that, especially for the price point. Um, so they're a bit, they're pretty similar in size, really. They're about equal. And again, my apologies. I'm coming off screen a lot, but I'm just learning all about my new system. It definitely needs some work, but please let me know if the lighting's better. I think it is. Um, but it's a couple of differences is tapered versus flat. Just the magic of the pause, because I pulled out my phone, gives an inclinometer. Looks like it's at about a 5-degree pitch. Uh, Check the table. Yep, table's flat. So it's at about a 5-degree pitch. Which doesn't sound like much, but it really is. Uh, Anybody who mountain bikes or skis or anything of that nature is kind of familiar with that. Train enthusiasts. The Volante does not have that. So physically, they uh, the timeline's a little bit bigger, not by a ton. Width-wise, about the same. Depth-wise, lengthwise, uh, this way, excuse me, is uh, timeline's a little bit longer, a little bit deeper, higher. They're about the same, but the Volante doesn't have the slope on it, which I don't really use my hands a lot, so I couldn't for things. Excuse me, my feet a lot. I don't stomp on stuff a lot, so uh, save treadle pedals. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be a huge difference there. Uh, the Volante, it does have a left and right in and out, so it's true stereo. The USB, if you notice, is still USB B. Here they have moved to a C, so you still have that, and you do have the MIDI, expression, and same 9-volt DC power supply. Interesting, they uh, they put an instrument and line level there, kind of a studio control. Now, internally to the Timeline MX, there's some game structuring stuff you can do in the menu. So I think that's one reason they didn't need to include an actual switch and um, that kind of thing, that kind of hardware for here, which would just be controlling the software anyway. They just go ahead and do it through the menu system because that's not what you're going to do immediately anyway. But for a manualist, yeah, I get it. But very kind of studio feel in terms of not linked to a pedal board, and you might be adjusting things on the fly. Uh, Controls are similar. This has got, this I do like. I will say I do like the metal. This is pretty traditional too. The plastic. This profile's fairly traditional. But yeah, they're both Strymons, Strymi. I don't know. Same same kind of build quality. The gauge of the metal looks to be the same. They're sort of bomb proof. They're a little more kind of not primitive, but it seems bent metal. The boss, I think that this boss still has that kind of we purposely built this thing and it's not an enclosure, it's a boss. This is like an enclosure. Not that is not a knock. That's just kind of an aesthetic decision, I think, or I mean, and production decision. It's like, oh yeah, we can just get the kind of chassis put together this way. um Still got the old protective. I don't know, are you those guys that leave the protective strip on there often too long, the screen protector on there too long? Anyway, I just kind of wanted to burn 12 minutes of your day and waste your time just to see if this video is working. Uh, I did try to use, if anybody knows, software zooming is something I can do with this OBSBot. Problem is, I tried it through the control software and that I used OBS. I used the virtual camera, so I had the manufacturer's software control suite for the camera, and then I ran that virtual camera into OBS Studio, uh, but it had lagged. I mean, by like a lot, by like a half a second or a second or something, like a lot. Uh, so I would like to be avail myself of the zoom function, but I'm not sure the best way to approach that. I don't know if one of those little stream decks and does it have to be the brand name stream deck? I don't know much about that, so I'm just learning. I'm learning with you. Uh, the lighting, that's going to be a work in progress. It's a little, ooh, not going to do that. Definitely indirect lighting. Uh, I've got the panel light not directly at it, and it's at a very low angle. Um, but it does kind of create a shadowing effect, and it would be nice if I could get rid of that. So if anybody has any experience with that, maybe a softbox or something, um, that'd be great to hear. Right now, I'm on kind of it's actually a Husky workbench from the Home Depot, which I use for all kinds of stuff. Or not this one, but I bought them in a triple. Oops, I dinged my little wood table. But so it's about 5 feet long. Uh, you say we're not covering the whole thing. It's probably twice this. It's over twice this size. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's well over twice this size. Maybe almost three times this size, something like that. Um, I would like to be able to, as you can tell, that's the rat's nest right there. Um, well, but it would be nice to have longer shots if I could for things. So I'm just working on all that. It's quite the adventure, but I look forward to doing something productive soon. I could do a side by side of these guys or a tour of the Volante. I do want to cover some deeper stuff in the timeline. I think it's really neat. The one thing I can think of, I didn't really get to show because the old computer cut it off, but running two different styles of delay, um, and the tricks you can do there. So it's actually kind of a dual delay pedal, which is really nice. I tend not to use loopers, at least not like song in a box type loopers, and I kind of don't want it in my delay. I just prefer to have it off to the side, its own little device. Um, there used to be the old website Loopers Delight by Kim Flint. He passed away in a bicycling accident a number of years ago, and that really hasn't been updated. But that was a loop specific site. Still kind of interesting to see. Loop music is its own deal. When I have used looping stuff, it's more of a kind of a tape loop. Well, and the degrades, are kind of an extra long echo kind of thing. What I don't tend to do is band in the box with just a backing track, which I could put in a CD, just a backing track and that kind of thing. Um, I just, it's just more of an improvisational tool. What I used to do with my wife has a Rhodes, a Fender Rhodes that We actually found it for, get this, $200. Uh, Guy who just was has a junk hauling company, had to get rid of it. But we every Sunday we'd use one of those the Electro Harmonics ones, the 2880 or something like that. Little four, it was worked like a little 4-track recorder kind of. Um, so that was a little band in the box, I suppose. But what we would do is we would just on Sunday mornings get up and somebody would lay down a motif, and it was like a walk off. It was like the Zoolander walk off, and then you've got to amplify it from there, Game of Horse or something. You didn't have to duplicate, but then you got your next track out and you added to it, and then the next person would add to it. So maybe we'll get back to that kind of stuff. But yes, there's a number of things I can and will do. There's nothing I won't do. Um, but yeah, I think I'd like to cover some of that. I did find when we were looking at the tape to tape shootout, they put the swell in the parameters, which is neat because it looks to be available on all the delay sections. On so many delay, the earlier delay machines, swell would often be actually a subtype of delay, so you couldn't apply that effect to the tonality of one of the other echo types. Now it looks like you can. Um, yeah, that's not going to be too bad, the reflection there. So that's, I think, real convenient. Same thing with the ducking. It's not a type. Excuse me. It's just a utility in um, the other echoes. So that's really neat. Uh, I do want to explore um, the analog echo as well. The D bucket as for bucket brigade here. The first I think I mentioned in one of my other ones. The first one I had was analog delay was the uh, Ibanez, the pink one. It was the 80 the Tube Screamer 808's um, cousin. It had that chiclet key, and you had to run off two 9-volt batteries or a 18-volt supply. Um, some people would just series up. They would just come up with some messy supply options. But it was low headroom and dirty and gritty. Um, And I think it's like anything else. It's kind of a nostalgic thing. That is a sound. That is a sound of. It's like your first kiss. That's the sound of delay to me. I'm not saying other delays aren't also, very well. Yeah, I like all those delays, but that's that first resonance with delay that I had. Playing into it. So it's got a analog bucket brigade's got a certain spot for me just because um, I remember how they handle. I know how they handle. They were was it Keith Code that said that about motorcycles? Uh, Good handling is predictable handling. It's like, as long as your bike, what it does, and you learn to work that. And it's, I think, the same thing with something like, especially delays or people that, their favorite amp or their favorite guitar, where it's like, well, I just know what it's going to do because it's, that there's a lot to be said for that. So I'm excited about the analog delay. Excuse me. I had one time that was kind of fun. It was the really long. It was a DoD, the purple one. Their analog delay that was supposed to be like a tape machine. I think if I remember correctly, it had a tone control on it, even to try to make it like a tape, but it was an analog delay. It was a long one too, because I think it used two delay chips of the bigger delay chips. But it was, um, I think it had like 800 milliseconds or something native, maybe not quite. But I remember voltage starving it. And I don't think this works with all delays or even all delays of that from that era, but I starved it, and I think I voltage starved. I don't think I current starved it, but as I remember when I starved it, it slowed the clock speed down, so the delay got super long. But the thing is, the bucket loss got super crazy, and so what came out was sort of vaguely related to what you put into it, which was a really neat effect, I thought. I don't know that I used it musically. I sure didn't ever use it in any sort of performance, but more one of those like I'm blowing my mind, noodling with it, that kind of thing. Just a great toy. Uh, I don't know that I can recreate that. I mean, I've got a bench supply and stuff, but I don't have that delay. And time may have moved on. Anyway, that is a couple of things I'd like to cover. Maybe some reverbs, some of the source audio stuff. I think I'll do that. If anybody, and again, I'm throwing this out in case anybody has, oh yeah, I'd like to know about this, that, or the other. Um, uh, TC Electronic has the Soundprint stuff. Um, they have the hypergravity compressor can do some pretty interesting things, and it's really, I mean, it's still a compressor, but it's um, pretty comprehensive, really. You can even do it like a three-band delay because remember TC had that triple C, the triple compressor. There's the rack unit. I think it kind of comes from that three-band compression. Um, and lots of you can set your points for what if you multi-band it, you can set the frequency bands for that, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do. That's through their tone print system, so maybe we can explore that. I bring that up because Source Audio also does one hell of a job, I think, with their software control. They've got those the pedal line, um, and uh, Battlefield wise, they run like a modern pedal. They I think usually have depending on it, but they usually have like three presets. That you have a little toggle that you can do one, two, three. And you can adjust them and save them. So you've got three presets on board, more with MIDI. But I think they did an outstanding job with the routing. They're usually stereo in and out, but you can in the software route things a number of different ways. And there's just um, a lot of details, a lot of parameter details you can really adjust in the software suite. Hook it up to your a personal computer and adjust it by software. And and I really think they did a great job because it's almost like you're designing your own pedal, you're customizing your own pedal. What you would normally do with electronics, you do it in the software, getting your customizations down. Uh, then you store that into the pedal, that kind of configuration. And you could do it with like three of them, probably more with the neural thing. But then, during performance time, it's like a pretty standard four knob um, pedal. Now you can, do some knob assignments, but which is nice because then it's like in the heat of battle, it's like, oh, I don't have to menu dive. I've got a tone control, volume control, or what have you, whatever you set it up for. So I think they did a great job of making it customizable, but also battlefield. Um, yeah. So I'm a fan. I think Source Audio does a very good job with that stuff. So maybe we can get into that. Okay. Well, about 23 minutes in, I think we will see if there's any lags or breaks, and I will kill this thing at 24 minutes. So I'll just talk for one more minute. Again, I'm just doing that to make sure that this computer can actually host this software and get the job done. Also, let me know if you think the scale is right. Uh, in terms of the Zoom until I figure out the Zoom. I was really disappointed that the software solution it functioned in terms of uh, doing its job, but the lag was unacceptable. Um, yeah, and I don't have the screen right in front of me, so I have to look to the side to make sure I'm within my real estate. So I'll probably tape marks, put my marks on there so I can hit my mark. Okay, we're about 20 seconds away. Uh, but thank you for listening. And this really is a waste of your time. I'll post it anyway, just because um, it's a test. Okay. Hey, thanks very much. I'm going to sit here for the next 8 seconds and make sure this works for you. You can go, go, you go, go.